what the appropriate way to say this, but I'm going to go, Happy Pentecost. I'm not sure if anybody here realized today was Pentecost. In fact, today is a very important day. Pentecost is the birthday of the Christian church. It is a really important day. In fact, more important than, say, Christmas or Easter. This is the day in which the Holy Spirit came upon and created what we know today as our Christian faith. And this makes it a really important day. And so I'm going to ask, how many people woke up this morning with a tingle in their stomachs thinking, oh, I'm so excited, today is Pentecost? Okay, we really need to change this. We need to work on this, because today is Pentecost. Today is the day when the Holy Spirit came over the disciples and changed what we know today. This is an important day. And in fact, I started to think, if we were a Hallmark card, we were going shopping and Hallmark had the Pentecost section, and we were going to go pick out a card. You know, what would that card say? It would say, today and always may the Holy Spirit be with you. And you would open it up, and what would it say? And also with you, right? This is a perfect card for Pentecost. Now, I took it one step further, and I was picturing it in the humor section, and it had Darth Vader on the front, you know, may the Holy Spirit be with you always. But that was my own personal interpretation of that. But that's what today is. This is an important day. And we kind of think, why? Which did get me thinking, if Pentecost is so important then, is it important now? So I have a video that I'd like us to watch that I'm hoping will give us a little understanding of what Pentecost really is. So maybe we'll turn the lights down in the back. So in a child's version, we get an idea of what Pentecost was at that time. It was a celebration, the day of Pentecost. I always wondered what that was. It took me forever to figure out Pentecost. It is a day of celebration. It followed 50 days after Easter, after Passover, and everyone came to Jerusalem. Everyone came to celebrate this day. And so here in Jerusalem, you have the disciples and thousands of people from all over. There were Jewish people from all over Judea, from Rome, from Macedonia. They went on and all the places they came from. And the Holy Spirit comes. And how does it come? It comes in a rushing wind. If you close your eyes and you imagine in this room hearing wind rushing through, just this loud wind coming through. And then you see the Spirit, and it reminds them of flames. And they see these flames, and then they rest upon each person in the room. This is a sight none of us can ever really imagine. I don't even think if we close our eyes and try to imagine, we could get a picture of what this could look like. This is exciting. And they're confused. And I'm sure some of them are a little bit scared. And what happens next is amazing. For they are able to speak in languages they do not know. And they are able to go out and share God's news, the good news, the gospel, with all the people in the area. This is what they can do now. And they go out. And then this is my favorite line. Aren't those the Galileans? I'm like, what's going on? They're just from Galilee. How are they speaking all this, right? They're a little confused. And then someone goes, they must be drunk. So I have a picture that this one went out on Facebook, and I just thought it was so funny. And Peter's like, what are you talking about? We're not drunk. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. We're not drinking yet. It comes later in the party at the Pentecost. And so here they are, and people are confused. And what happens is this stimulates Peter to be able to give a message to thousands of people, the good news. Because the Holy Spirit is there. The Holy Spirit is working with every nation that is present in Pentecost. And then these people get to go home. So they come into one town, and they're going to spread out. And you can imagine when you drop, has anyone done this? They've taken a coffee filter and you drop some color on it and you watch it spread out. And it spreads and it spreads and it spreads to the far reaching. You just drop a little bit on there and it goes and goes and goes. This is God's message now. It has been given to all who were gathered, and they left after this Pentecost gathering back home. And that message starts to spread like this over everywhere. This is what Pentecost is. Now we want to know, so that was that day. That was awesome. That's great. What about us? What does Pentecost mean to us? Because today is Pentecost, and we need to understand what's in it for us. And so I have some questions to ask, because I want to know, what is Pentecost for us? We know that they weren't drunk. We know that they were able to speak languages that they didn't know. And we know that the news spread, and it went out. And now today, we celebrate this day. It's 2,000 years later, and I want to know what's in it for us. What changes for us that Pentecost is an important day? Who is the Holy Spirit within us? And so I started to think, do we ever see the Holy Spirit in our lives? I don't think I've ever seen flames or tongues or anything on my body parts that, are these great magical spiritual things. But is there this Holy Spirit that we believe is a part of our lives? Do we go to church and do we see a Holy Spirit in our midst? Do we walk through our daily life and see a Holy Spirit in our midst? Do we allow the Holy Spirit to work within us? These are questions that we grapple with in staff meetings all of the time. Do we let the Holy Spirit work, or do we keep it closed in? Is the Holy Spirit what we seal inside of our hearts? And we go, we got the Holy Spirit, and it's right here, it's in my heart. I take Jesus everywhere I go. But that's it, I leave it here. Or do we allow the Holy Spirit to work? Do we even know when the Holy Spirit is working? Now, I'm going to give you guys the idea here. The Holy Spirit is the miraculous. It's the miracle. Now, I do stuff with our kids all the time. And for instance, I can get a paper clip to float on water. Ta-da! And the kids go, wow, that's pretty cool. And then they look at me like, how do you do that? I'm like, it's a miracle. It's not a miracle. Sometimes, that's one of the things I can do. I can also get water or milk to turn purple. And then the kids go, oh, how'd you turn milk purple? And I say, it's a miracle. But these are not miracles by any sense, because I think there are probably a few of you who could say right now, I know how you can get a paperclip to float. That has density. And someone else is going to go, I bet you put some iodine in that milk, and that's how you got it to turn purple. And I'm going to say, I did. It's true. It's all science. Science, science, science. Because those are not miracles. Because a miracle, a miraculous thing, is something that is unexplainable. Something that you don't really have an explanation for. Something that makes you go, wow, there was something bigger than me and bigger than anybody that was a part of this. That is what a miracle is. That is when the Holy Spirit is at work. The Holy Spirit is in us all the time, and the Holy Spirit is working. The question is, do we know? The question is, how do we know? And the question is, do we ask the Holy Spirit to be a part of it? So I'm going to share with you that every week before I give a sermon, I pray. I do. I pray, and I pray, Holy Spirit, I need words of wisdom. Holy Spirit, what do the people need to hear this week? There are going to be lots of different people who have lots of different things happening in their life. How do I meet their needs? What could I say today that would make any difference for them? And then I let it rest, and I wait to hear back from the Holy Spirit. Sometimes the Holy Spirit takes longer than I like. Sometimes the Holy Spirit will wait up until moments before I come up to spend some time with you guys in a sermon, and I think, wow, that's a daring move to not know what you're going to say before you stand up before a group of people. But it's funny, because the Holy Spirit does know what we need to hear, and the Holy Spirit does give us words. And that is when the Holy Spirit is moving through all of us in those moments. And so these are the little ways These are the little ways in which we hear and which we know. We know that God sent the Holy Spirit for each one of us. Each one of us. That Holy Spirit was sent for each and every one of us. God knew ahead of time. We heard it in the Bible. First, we hear it at Jesus' baptism. There was one here greater than me. But then just wait, because they will give you the Holy Spirit. I can baptize you, but the Holy Spirit I can't give you. That's the one who's greater. And that gift was what we were given on Pentecost Sunday. It's a gift we hardly ever celebrate. We were baptized in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And we never talk about the Holy Spirit. But why don't we talk about the Holy Spirit? We were baptized to have this gift. This is the gift we all have. And so I want all of us to think right now. I want you to think. I'm not asking for anything right now. I want you to think. Where do you see the Holy Spirit in your life? Where do you see the Holy Spirit in this church? How does the Holy Spirit get any opportunity to move anywhere that we go? This is the question that I have for all of you. Because the Holy Spirit is where our passion is. The Holy Spirit is fire. It's the light. It's what ignites us. It's what gives us that spark. People say, what makes you a Christian? The Holy Spirit makes me a Christian. Is that an answer that anyone ever gives? The Holy Spirit is what makes me a Christian. We come up with a lot of different answers to what makes us a Christian. And what is it that the Holy Spirit is in our lives? It is the light. It is the fire. It is what engages us into our world, into our society, with one another. That is what Pentecost is. Pentecost is not a day that was celebrated 2,000 years ago. Pentecost is a day that we can have anytime we want. Our own lives are filled with a Pentecost. Any day of the week can be Pentecost. We have to choose when it is. We have to choose to allow that Holy Spirit to move. Now, the band has been working on a song this week, and they are going to play it for us in just a minute, that some of you will recognize right off the top, like that. However, I need you to know there are some different words. So if you choose to sing along, and I do encourage you to do that, the words will be up on the screen so that you can follow along. This song reminds us of who the Holy Spirit is in our life. You'll see. You're wondering, I know, when you hear this song and you go, what? I don't think so. But this song reminds us who the Holy Spirit is in our life. This song reminds us of the fire. This song is who we are. So I'm going to let the band share